Part of executing a successful kitchen renovation is not only having a design that's highly functional and beautiful, but also one that doesn't leave you bankrupt. Hi, I'm Mark, and in the 20 years that I've been designing and selling kitchens, the issue of price has always been top of mind for consumers. So in this video, I'll answer some common questions to help you decide how to spend your hard-earned money on that new kitchen. If you are a first-time homeowner embarking on your first big kitchen renovation, or you've never done a kitchen renovation in your life, knowing how to budget can be quite intimidating. The first question to answer is this: how much should I budget for a kitchen renovation? The answer is quite simple: 15% more than you have set aside. It's a strange answer, I know, and I'll get a little more detailed in a minute, but I don't want you to miss this very first important point. Most homeowners do not include any contingency plan in their budgets. They push the envelope hoping not to run into any issues such as delays, mistakes, price fluctuations, change orders, unforeseen construction problems, and now tariffs. Whatever you set for a budget, be sure to add approximately 15% to it. If nothing happens, then at least you'll have a bunch of money left over for fancy gadgets or upgrades. But chances are that you will be glad that you had something to cover those issues. Okay, not glad, but at least you won't be broke. Now, in terms of your actual budget, most experts agree that around 15% of your home's value is sufficient for a kitchen renovation. So if your home is valued at around $750,000, you're looking at approximately $112,000 for a suitable renovation. Now, this can fluctuate if you're in a high-end market, if it's a starter home or a flipper home, or even if it's your forever home. These factors could raise or lower your budgeted amount, but 15% will at least get you in the ballpark. Now, of that 15%, 30 to 40% of it should be your cabinetry. 10 to 15% should be for countertop, 10 to 15% for appliances, 5 to 10% for flooring, lighting and plumbing about 10%, 15% for contingency, about 5 to 8% for design, and about 10 to 15% for labor. You can see how quickly this can skyrocket. This leads us to the next question of balancing. What areas should I splurge on versus what areas can I save money on? Now, this is a very challenging question, but my advice is to focus on the functional aspects of your kitchen first. So splurge there and try to save on the aesthetic aspects. For example, I would spend more money on cabinet quality than I would on a custom cabinet color. Quality is generally a better use of funds, in my opinion. This goes for countertops too. I'd prefer a higher quality, more accessible kitchen if it meant I had to purchase quartz countertop instead of the soapstone that I really wanted. When you focus on the quality of function, you are investing in the lifespan and usability of your kitchen. Two other great places to splurge, although a little less attractive as advice, is in professional design and quality installation. These are the two most important areas in any kitchen renovation. If your kitchen is not designed properly and thoughtfully, you're going to be ultimately wasting a ton of money. And why spend money on a kitchen that is not optimized for you, the homeowner? This is why I offer a professional online design solution. My design lead, Anne-Marie, spends hours with our clients making sure their kitchens are designed not only to high standards, but also to the specific needs of that particular homeowner, the person who's actually going to be using that space. Check out the link in the video description for more details. Now, if a well-planned designed kitchen is not installed to a high standard, it ends up causing problems down the road. Plus, a lot of installation mistakes are visual because of the high degree of finish work involved in trimming out a kitchen. Poorly installed cabinetry can also lead to accelerated wear and tear on the functional components like drawer systems, hinges, and added accessories, meaning you may have to fix these problems much sooner than you would if you had a properly fitted kitchen. Now, if you are a hardcore DIYer, I totally get why you wouldn't want to spend money on these two things. The whole point of DIY is to do it yourself. And that's why I make these videos, to give you as much help as I can for free, so that if you are tackling these things yourself, you'll have as much info as possible to make great decisions for your kitchen and your wallet. Now, I focus a lot on function, but homeowners also want a kitchen that looks good. If we are saving our money for kitchen function, this is the question that can often arise. How can I make my kitchen look high-end on a budget? I suppose this depends on what you consider high-end to be. To me, a clean and clutter-free organized kitchen looks much more high-end than a messy kitchen. Besides, no one actually cares about your kitchen but you, so make sure it's functional first. However, there are ways to make your kitchen look high-end without costing you a fortune. Have you ever visited an IKEA? Their cabinets are anything but high-end, but you'd never know that by looking at their displays. Now, nothing against IKEA. I like their cabinetry and I recommend their cabinets to lots of people, but I'm also not pretending that they're really high-end. However, they do use Bloom hardware and have durable finishes with a number of decent options. Others like Cabinet Joint and Wren Kitchens and a whole bunch others, they also offer great products as well. So it's not hard to look high-end with many of these solutions. Another way is with laminate countertop. Most designers would never suggest laminate in fear that their reputation would go out the window. But I don't care about my reputation. And if you want to save money, there's lots of laminate options that will take you there. Plus, products like Thinscape get you the benefits of solid surface tops for much less. Always remember that regardless of the cabinet and countertop brand that you select, if your kitchen is poorly designed, you will be wasting money regardless. Now, Mark, are there hidden costs that I should be aware of? Well, there are a few hidden costs mostly associated with those unforeseen problems that we mentioned before. For example, one that actually happened to me recently was an unlevel floor. It was off by an inch over 8-foot span. That's really brutal. So all the floorboards had to come up, new joists were scabbed onto the old ones to bring the floor up an inch. This was time and money I wasn't expecting to pay, but it had to be fixed. It's likely that you too will run into issues like this to some degree. And this is where having that extra 15% for issues will be needed. There are other costs, however, that are not hidden, but we're usually not prepared for the price tag. The cost of a new sink, faucets and lighting, electrical ventilation and plumbing work, the labor cost to install cabinets and flooring, and design fees. I found that many homeowners are shocked by some of these prices as they can be quite high. Even simple things like a gallon of paint can throw a wrench into a budget. Have you seen the price of paint lately? It's outrageous. However, with diligent planning, you should be able to mitigate some of the sticker shock associated with these necessities, so you can focus on fixing the little unforeseen issues that arise. This reduces the stress of the renovation as well. Now, I already mentioned that you should spend money on quality, and sometimes that can be confused with custom. A question I hear often is, are custom cabinets worth the cost? And my answer is a little nuanced because it's not as simple as a yes or no. Firstly, you should never think that custom equals quality. That's a big mistake. And secondly, the cost of custom cabinets can vary widely depending on the builder, the materials used, and the level of craftsmanship. Some custom shops deliver amazing quality that's worth every penny. Others, not so much. You're just paying more for the custom label. In fact, there are many semi-custom or even stock cabinet lines today that offer excellent construction, durable finishes, and a ton of upgrade options, and often at a lower price point. So instead of asking, is it custom? The better question is it well built, durable, and does it meet the needs of my kitchen? If it checks those boxes, whether it's custom, semi-custom, stock, built out of a pallet in the backyard, it becomes less important. On the flip side, sometimes you will find the biggest price to value discrepancy with semi-custom cabinets. Many of these semi-custom cabinets come through a dealer network, meaning there is a margin that's added every step of the way. And guess who ends up paying for that? You guessed it, it's you out there. Plus, there's a lot of overhead costs for these businesses to run, which also gets passed off to you. Custom shops, however, can run on much tighter margins, meaning you can find a greater price to value ratio with a custom cabinet supplier than you would with a semi-custom cabinet. To give you a simple visual, semi-custom cabinets usually come from a big box store, such as a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And custom cabinets could be from your local shop in your city with 5 employees. And I'm not far off in saying that the big box store is likely putting a 35% margin on their semi-custom cabinets that you're purchasing. That's just the price of doing business, and that's fine. But the quality of the cabinetry and the subsequent installation you are receiving might not be near the same as the true custom shop that's focused on craftsmanship and service. At the big box store, you're often dealing with mass-produced cabinets, limited customization options, and an installer who may or may not be deeply invested in the final outcome of your project. With a reputable custom shop, you're getting cabinets built specifically for your space with attention to detail, better materials sometimes, and usually a higher level of personalized service during the installation. Now, I'm not knocking the big box stores or the custom shops. You can get a great product from both, but when it comes to spending your money, just be aware of what you're actually paying for. At a big box store, a chunk of your cost goes towards branding and overhead, and not necessarily a higher craftsmanship. At a custom shop, you're often paying for the quality of materials, true customization, and the skill of the craftspeople. Neither option is automatically better. It's about making sure your investment matches your expectation and needs. So spend smart, not just blindly. Now, a smaller portion of your budget will likely go toward lighting. However, the impact that it can have when done right is a great return on that investment. Watch this video next to make sure you learn how to light your kitchen properly. We'll see you over there.